In this lesson, we'll discuss Ubuntu installation options. Ubuntu has many installation options, and we'll have a look through them, then understand the ones that will be covered in this course. If you go to help.ubuntu.com/community/installation, you'll be able to have a look at the possible options as we go through them. We'll discuss system requirements in the next lesson. A standard installation involves downloading a live CD image from Ubuntu's site. You can then burn it to a DVD, then boot to it. A live CD lets you try Ubuntu without installing it, then install it later if you choose to. Alternate installation methods cover various methods of installing without having to boot to a DVD. You could install Quick or Normal from USB. You can use ISO to USB. You could use a Smart Boot Manager. You can install in Windows using Wooby. You can install from floppies. Anyone remember or know what they are? You could install from existing Linux. You could install a virtual machine, or you could install a portable installed system from Unified Extensible Firmware Interface, UEFI, and Basic Input-Output System, BIOS. Server and network installations are also possible. You could install from the local network. You could install from an installation using NetBoot. You could do a NetBoot install over the internet. You could use a network console. You could install from a network file system or NFS drive. You could install from an NFS drive with local boot. You could do a quick install over Secure Shell or SSH. You could install with floppies, again with the floppies. Installing on external or RAID, which stands for Redundant Array of Independent Disks, is supported, but will not be covered in this course. Logical Volume Manager or LVM installation is also supported, but will not be covered in this course. Minimal installations. Ubuntu runs on a wide range of hardware, including some very old systems that may be collecting dust in your basement. If you want to run on one of these, a minimal install may be good for you. Once the installation process is started for any of the interactive methods, the process is very similar. We'll do an Ubuntu Server 16.04 and an Ubuntu Desktop 16.04 install to VirtualBox. This will create a VirtualBox VM, which will be used throughout the course. I chose VirtualBox because it is free, easy-to-use virtualization software. It lets you run other operating systems in an application running on your computer. AMD 64 images should work if you're using VirtualBox. If you have trouble with that, try an i386-based image. You can browse to www.ubuntu.com/download to find the appropriate version for your needs. Please download an LTS version for server and desktop, as we'll be using both. Ubuntu runs on a very wide range of hardware, both old and new. You'll want a certain minimum level to make sure your system performs well. For desktop installations, if you want to run Ubuntu with a full installation, including the graphical user interface or GUI, you should have at least a 2 GHz dual-core processor, 2 GB of RAM or system memory, 25 GB of free hard drive space, a VGA or better video card with a resolution of at least 1024 by 768 pixels, a CD, DVD drive, or USB port for the installation image, Note that a CD, DVD drive, or USB is not required for installation of a virtual machine, and internet access is very helpful. If you're running the Unity or GNOME GUI, you'll have to have a bit more capable hardware. You'll have to have at least 4 GB of RAM and a 3D accelerator capable video card with at least 256 MB of video RAM. These are the system requirements as of 3 October 2017. Please double check them to see if they have changed prior to your installation. They can be found at help.ubuntu.com/community/installation/system requirements. For Ubuntu Server, as it is not usually installed with a GUI, the requirements are much lower. A 300 MHz x86 processor, 256 MB of system RAM or memory, 1.5 GB of drive space, a graphics card and monitor capable of 640 by 480 pixels resolution, and a CD drive. If your system won't support the full version and you still want to use Ubuntu Desktop, you could opt for a lightweight GUI alternative like Xubuntu or Lubuntu. These only require 512 megs of RAM, 5 gigs of disk space, and a graphics card and monitor capable of 800 by 600 resolution. If you have a system made within the last several years, you should be fine and should be able to load the full desktop operating system. For practice throughout the course, you should have Ubuntu Server and Ubuntu Desktop installed in a virtualization platform. The tutorials cover installation and VirtualBox. You should be able to accept the default system specifications during the VirtualBox install and won't have to worry about them meeting the minimum system requirements. For installation on a local hard drive, where you want to boot to and use Ubuntu right on the system, it's good to have more than the recommended minimum if possible. This is called a bare metal install. The minimum will function but may not provide the most pleasant experience. If you easily meet the system requirements, please download the appropriate image for your system. If not, you can check out the low memory system instructions available in the downloads document for this lesson. In this lesson, we'll learn how to download and install VirtualBox virtualization software. It's free software that lets you run multiple operating systems within an application on your existing computer. It's available for Windows, Mac OS X, Linux, and Solaris. That covers any operating system you're likely to be using. Once you've tried a virtual environment, installing on hardware seems slow and painful. Many server infrastructures are virtualized, running on VMware ESXi, Microsoft Hyper-V, or are in the cloud on Amazon Web Services, DigitalOcean, or a similar provider. Taking a moment now to learn VirtualBox increases your options for trying new operating systems and practicing new things yourself, and can make using virtualization software at work more understandable. The operating system you installed the downloaded VirtualBox software to is called the host. The systems you install are called virtual machines or guests. Virtual machines are often abbreviated as VMs. So let's get VirtualBox installed. Download the appropriate package for your operating system from virtualbox.org/wiki/downloads. Once it's downloaded, browse to the file. It will probably be in your Downloads folder unless you typically download to another location or moved it. I'm showing the steps for Mac OS X here, but it will be similar for other operating systems. For Mac OS X, double-click on the VirtualBox DMG file to start the installation process. Your Mac will verify the integrity of the downloaded file. The VirtualBox installation window will open. Double-click on the virtualbox.pkg file. Your system will verify the integrity of the virtualbox.pkg file. A window will open asking you to run a program to determine if the software can be installed. Click on Continue to continue the installation. In the Install Oracle VM VirtualBox window, click on Continue. Enter your username and password if prompted, then click Install Software. If the installation was successful, click on Close to close the installer window. Under number 2 in the VirtualBox window, double-click on the Applications folder to open it and browse to VirtualBox. Double-click on VirtualBox to launch it. You can also launch it from Launchpad. For Windows, double-click the executable you downloaded and follow the default installation prompts. Then open it as you would any other application. On a Windows install, consider right-clicking the downloaded executable and installing it as administrator. I haven't had it happen myself, but I had one student report a grayed out permission when he was trying to select a certain network setting. Installing as administrator will minimize your chances of encountering this error. You'll see how to install new virtual machines and work with them in upcoming lessons.